You. Hey, everybody.
Hey y'all, hey.
Welcome, 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 welcome. We will just enjoy this music. We are catching up, checking in. Hope you had a chance to catch up and check in with some folks today. Enjoying these tunes as we get into the groove of our conversation today. Kia and I are so happy to have you with us. Let some Erica get your life right today on this National Stress Awareness Day.
Yes, happy National Stress Awareness Day, y'all.
Because sometimes you just gotta acknowledge the stress in your life and, and the things that are causing the stress.
And manage it or let it go.
That part right there. So happy to have some folks joining us tonight. We're gonna wait a little bit, just a few more minutes, a few more seconds and get into it. Kia, I
How
think you
do
should get your cup. Go get your glass. Kia's going to get her sexy glass, and we will shout out this sexy glass and where that glass came from. My cup is It's Okay Not to Be Okay. Brought to you by Sip of Hope, cute little cafe in Chicago. If you have not had a chance to visit, please do check them out. Sip of Hope. And remember, okay, not to be okay.
Don't worry, I'm opening the wine now.
Kia says she is about to get into this conversation, reducing all the stress, opening up bottles. I'm on a water kick, y'all. I'm pouring glasses after glass. So welcome again, welcome. So happy to have you here and a part of this conversation with us tonight. Today was such a beautiful day. If you were in Chicago, I hope you were thanking all of the weather gods for today because that 70 plus degrees was everything I needed, especially before we get into those darker days that we know here in Chicago. So
Yeah, I was saying to myself, even though global warming is killing us, this feels great. Like, we're here for a good time, not a long time.
you know what? I didn't think about that, but that is a very good
I was
point.
like, it's fairly warm for November.
Man, I was thinking like a few years ago, there was a CPS went on strike and it was
Mhm.
during Halloween and it snowed that year. So I'm like,
Yes,
we
it
went from
is.
like a snowy Halloween to like a 70-degree Halloween in less than like 3 years, 4 years maybe. I don't know, y'all. I'm concerned. I'm worried. I'm concerned. I'm befuddled. I'm all of the things because this
It's
is not.
different.
It's
Yeah,
definitely different.
it's different. Tanisha, how do we share this? Like, how do we share this broadcast?
So, if you are wanting to share the broadcast, all we need to do is send our friends this our YouTube link.
Okay,
They can find us at Invested Consultant Firm YouTube. But let me pull that up for you, and I can drop it in the chat if you want to
perfect.
invite others to join.
I do.
Absolutely. Okay, here we go.
And for those wondering, my cup says this is from Soulful Book Lounge on 1508 West 18th Street. Shout out to Mariah.
Shout
And
out,
my
Mariah.
my cup says, "May the booty get fatter and the stomach get flatter." Amen.
Amen in that order. Yes. Okay, so I dropped the YouTube link in the chat. That'll take you to the Invested Consultant Firm page, and then folks can join us from there.
Perfect.
Perfection. So I'm gonna let you shout that out. Um, and hopefully we can get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, checking in. Come on, check in.
Hey y'all.
Check in. Um, so it's 5 minutes after. We definitely want to respect you all's time. We want to make sure I want to make sure that I respect kids' time. So we're just gonna jump right into some housekeeping. My name is Tanisha Jointer. I am the founder of Invested Consultant Firm. At Invested Consultant Firm, we provide training to community partners and school districts around the country around trauma and healing center practices. For those of you who don't know me, I am the former behavioral health specialist for Chicago Public Schools. I am a certified school social worker. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I got a bunch of letters behind my name, but more than that, I love to travel, all things random, and I'm planning a wedding. Pray my strength, y'all. Day. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Um, and I think that's me in a nutshell. I'm so happy to be with you all. We are hoping to continue at Investor Consulting Firm. We're hoping to have these conversations and just create space for conversations that supports us in investing in each other, right? Investing in ourselves first, and then making sure that we are investing in our community. So thank you guys so much for being here. We are so happy to have you. And I'm gonna turn it over to Kia to give us the whole rundown. Kia, give us all the lowdown.
Oh, the lowdown. What can I say? Okay, so my name is Kia Smith. I am a Southside Chicago native, a writer, a journalist, a blogger, and a self-published author of 2 books. A self-love advocate, mental health advocate, all around just fun girl. Loves life, loves her people, loves the people that are in her life, loves meeting people. Some might say I'm a socialite as well because I am always, just outside and, knowing where the best places are to dine and to drink and to just fellowship amongst people who like to have a great time. But what I am passionate about is just motivating people to love themselves a little bit better, to take to take their mental health seriously, whether that is with therapy or other wellness practices, and really encourage people to just unlearn everything that is set up to hinder them and hold them back, and encourage them, just to be their best selves, be them best selves, live their best life, live life to the fullest, and don't let anything hold them back. So
nice. First of all, that was way too much good stuff. And then, like that intro I had so many questions in just the intro alone. I'm like, wait, what? What? First of all, I'm all about all the best eateries. Let me tell you that. I don't know if I left that part out about my love for all things random, but I am here for all good food options. So okay, nope, let me focus. I'm gonna focus because Kia, I will go left and we'll be talking about all of the happenings in Chicago and forget what we're here for.
No, we can discuss it. We can discuss it offline though. We can discuss it.
So we clearly will have to have a part 2 of this conversation because I am here for, again, all things amazing and food. So hey y'all, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you being here with us to be a part of this conversation with us today. Today's conversation is going to be around self-love. Today, if you don't know, today is National Stress Awareness Day. Shout out to stress awareness. And our conversation today is really going to be about how do we love ourselves and how do we show up for ourselves and how do we make space for ourselves, right? And then Kia is going to tell us about her amazing book that she wrote and its connection to self-love. But before we jump into self-love, I want us to spend a little bit of time just talking about stress and what is stress and how do we define and experience stress. And so stress is something that I feel like we all experience, right, all the time. And for some people, stress can show up and look very differently, right? So stress essentially is how we react when we feel under pressure and or threatened. Right, that's how we can simply define stress. But what stress can also show up as, there's several different types of stress, right? So there's positive stress, right? That's that stress that you have when you are preparing for a baby or maybe planning a wedding, right? Or you just started a new job or you're buying a house, right? That's that positive stress that we tend to have when we're in those spaces. But then there's other stress that we experience, right? There's stress like tolerable stress. That stress that tends to be a greater degree of stress. It tends to have a little longer lasting impact on us. So there's maybe, something like a natural disaster that is sometimes for some people that can be like losing my phone, right? That panic that you jump into when you're trying to find your phone, and that massive stress that you feel, right? That's tolerable stress because it happens, it has a peak, and then you can kind of come down from that. And then there's some of us who really experience toxic stress, and toxic stress is usually the result of some type of trauma or exposure to trauma or traumatic situation. I don't know about y'all, but I can tell you for me, just existing in these last few years, oh my God. The amount of stress that I've experienced in these last few years, right, is unbelievable, unimaginable. And I know that I'm not alone in that feeling, right? There's so many of us who have experienced toxic stress. I mean, we all have experienced a collective trauma. Right. And so when we experience collective trauma, something like toxic stress is not far-fetched or far from that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a little bit about of what stress is. And when we think about stress and how stress manifests in our day-to-day, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but stress can absolutely negatively impact our overall mental health. Stress can absolutely impact our capacity to love ourselves, to show some type of grace and compassion to ourselves. So I just wanted to make sure that we spend this day just acknowledging what stress is and how stress can show up and manifest in our lives. Stress not only manifest in the ways like that we know, that we commonly experience, right? I'm sweating, I am tired, I overeat, I am thinking, right? Stress can also truly impact our bodies in ways that we don't even manage. Our stress lives and literally lives in your body. And so today, what I want us to spend some time talking about is making sure that we're acknowledging that we're acknowledging how stress is showing up in our bodies, in our minds, making sure that we're making space for this conversation, and more importantly, thinking about ways in which we can decrease, minimize, pivot, turn, right, and adjust that stress. So
I'm ready.
I know a whole lot about stress.
I am ready. I am ready because I agree with everything you said. I agree with everything that you said about stress, especially about the part when you said that stress lives in our body, because I can 100% identify with that. Whether it was having stressful jobs, like for example, I remember last year I had a really stressful 9 to 5, and it was to the point where I had to start going to see a chiropractor. I was already in therapy, so that was helpful, but I had to go see a chiropractor because I was holding that stress in my neck and my back and my shoulders, and like working from home too just made me like really lock up. So if you do not take care of yourself and learn ways to effectively manage stress and learn how to de-stress, it will impact your physical health. And that is why you see people in their 40s, in their 50s, like very 30s, very young, passing away because they haven't quite figured out how to de-stress or manage the stress that they already have. So I'm ready for the conversation.
I'm trying so hard not to go down the strong Black woman conversation. I'm trying real hard not to go down that conversation, because it's like, and I can only speak from the Black woman, the experience of a Black woman, right? Like that idea of caring for ourselves and loving ourselves. Like we know that we're supposed to love ourselves. We know that we're supposed to care for ourselves, but sometimes people tell us that that's selfish, right? Sometimes people tell us that, you are putting you over other people. Sometimes folks make us feel like we're not supposed to because you're a strong Black woman, right? Like you are supposed to carry the stress of the world on your shoulders, because that's what people seem to believe and think of us. So I'm not gonna go there. I'm gonna stay straight. We had a whole little outline of what we're gonna talk about today. So I'm gonna try.
Okay. Listen, I'm aligned with wherever direction you want to go because that I can definitely speak to that as well. Especially to your point of like, we know that we are supposed to love ourselves, but I kind of beg to differ. I don't think a lot of us really know
Oh,
that
come
it
on,
is
speak on me,
okay, that it is okay to like put yourself first and to love on yourself first. I think that we're socialized, Black women especially,
man.
we are socialized to put everything and everybody before us, the roles that we play, like whether it's wife, mom, sister, auntie, cousin, all
Mhm.
these different things. It's just like, what about you? What
Mm,
about you? Who are you outside of those titles? Who are you outside of, certain accolades? And a lot of people simply do not know themselves. They haven't had an opportunity to explore
mhm,
themselves,
mhm.
and they carry just the external expectations of themselves into themselves, and it affects them physically, mentally, emotionally.
I'm like, this sums up the conversation that I've probably had the last 2 to 3 days just around caring for oneself. I was having a conversation about, self love and self care is like setting a boundary, right? Like, how do we set appropriate boundaries as an act of self love, right? Like, I
Mhm.
love me enough that I'm going to set boundaries that protect me and my peace. But
Mhm.
again, we've been socialized to believe that no matter what, you got to turn the other cheek, right? You in a
Mhm.
workplace and this happens, oh, well, you got to forgive them and get over it. Oh, in family life, well, that's family blood thicker than water, right? We've been socialized and conditioned to believe that we have to conform and put everybody else's needs over ours, before ours, and we never get an opportunity to really show up for ourselves, right? And
Mhm.
even in the sisterhoods and sister circles, right? We can sometimes be our worst critics because we like, oh no, but you still got to keep pushing and keep like, no, sis,
No, I do not.
no, you deserve this
Mhm.
time to just breathe. You deserve this space to set expectations. You deserve this opportunity to say no. And guess what? No is a complete sentence because nobody
Mhm.
ever taught me that as a Black woman. Like, nobody ever taught me that no was a complete sentence and it was okay for me to say no, right? I was always
Mhm.
like, oh, I got to say yes at work, right? I got to do
Mhm.
all the things, right?
Yeah.
But you don't.
Yeah. I
But
had
we,
a I had a coworker like that. Like, have you ever well, I call it the overachieving Black women. Like, I think
Mhm,
that Black women, we are capable of doing so many great things, and we can, but that doesn't mean that you have to do all the things. And then there is no reward for overexerting yourself, overdoing your part, um overdoing anything. Like, you're not gonna get a trophy, you're probably not gonna get any type of recognition. And I had a coworker like that, and like, she was just always like, that go-to person that, and the reality just smacked her in the face so hard. And it's just
mhm,
like, oh. And she had a reality check where it was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't overachieve so much.
mhm.
And so she had to learn, how to set personal boundaries and like really prioritize herself first, because a lot of people just don't know themselves outside of working,
Mhm.
working and achieving and accolades and titles and all those things.
It's funny you say that. When as I was trying to prepare for today, in a just very transparent moment with y'all, like as I was preparing for today, I was like, this is work that I do, right? These are trainings that I have. These are conversations that I have with people. But today, I just was feeling like, am I the person to talk about self love today? Right? Is this the conversation I need to be having? Right? Because do I love myself? Absolutely, right? But am I showing up in a way that I tell other people to show up, right? As a clinician, as a therapist, right? I
Mm-hmm.
tell people all the time the stuff that they need to do, right? And I'm like, dang, should I really be having this conversation today? And I
Mm-hmm.
think it was in that moment that I realized that I am my own. I've come to realize this several times, but I am my own worst critic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am my own um judger, right? I am my
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling this way because society has somehow told me that no matter how much I do, it's not quite it enough. And
Mm-hmm.
in that, it impacts how I again feel and able to love myself. But today I remember that I have to extend myself some grace.
Yes,
That I
that's
have
very
to
important.
extend myself some grace, and that I have to be able to recognize the growth that I have made and the
Mm-hmm.
growth that I continue to make. But again, really extend some grace to myself in the journey that I'm on. Right,
Mm-hmm.
I am on this healing journey, and I thank y'all for being on the journey with me, because this is a shared, this is an open journey right here, right. And in this, I am learning that self love, self care, it isn't this thing that has a beginning and an end, right? It needs to be this ongoing, consistent thing. And that as
Yeah.
I grow and as I evolve, how I love myself, how I care for myself will continue to grow and evolve. You can't do the same thing you was doing yesterday and think it's gonna work today. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
today's price, yesterday price ain't today price, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
goes in how we're caring and how we're loving ourselves, right? The way that I showed my love for myself, at 25 hit different when you 35. It hit different when
Mm-hmm.
you get 40, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes we have to remember that to extend that grace to ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
also, like Jay-Z said, allow me to reintroduce myself. Like
Period.
we have to reintroduce ourselves to people who think that, the way that I care for myself then is the way that I'm caring for myself now. And that's, so again, that boundaries really come back into play, and those expectations of how I want to be cared for and loved and supported, those things
Mm-hmm.
change as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree that self-love is something that I talk about all the time as well. Self-love is a journey. It is not a destination. It
Mm.
is something that you will continuously work on over and over again as you grow and evolve. So will your self-love. And it's not something that you'll always be consistent with either. But
Mm.
all in all, with that, you have to give yourself grace. And it helps a lot by staying present as well, because we can dwell on the past if we want to, but what is there in the past for us? It's nothing there for us. And then it's like, yeah, we can think about the future as well and strive to be a better version of ourselves that we envision for the future. But like, what about us now, right here? And you can't allow yourself to feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough because of
Mhm.
XYZ. You're doing the best you can with the tools that you currently have, and that is something that I learned in therapy. Shout out to my therapist. That is something that I learned in therapy. Like, you're doing the best that you can with the tools that you have.
Mhm.
If it was meant for you to know and be and do more, you will have those tools, but you don't have
Mhm.
that yet, and that's
Mhm.
okay.
And I love you use yet. I'm
Hmm.
gonna shout out something that I see in the chat. Self-care, sometimes self-care is confused as depression. I have to remind people that I am not depressed. I am protecting my productivity or lack thereof. Like the awareness that you have to arrive to that space is crazy, right?
Hmm.
But again, that's what that reintroducing oneself is so important, because people will see you caring for yourself as selfish. People will see it
Hmm.
as, oh, you depressed, you don't want to be around nobody, you don't know why you ain't showing up, and Pookie having a party and you come to Pookie party every year, but Pookie party ain't where I need to be right now. Right? Like you absolutely have to reintroduce yourself to people, because people will see your growth, your healing.
Hmm.
'Cause that's what I think it boils down to, right? That's they will see your healing and think that, oh, it's something wrong with you. No, I'm healing.
Yeah,
I'm growing.
yeah.
I'm thriving.
Hmm. And then it's like we have to like reframe our thought of boundaries. Like, boundaries aren't punishment.
Mm,
Boundaries teach people how to treat you,
mhm,
and it's kind of it provides a roadmap of what you will and won't allow, and the consequences that you know come after if someone like decides, oh, they want to overstep or ignore a boundary. But boundaries aren't something that are inherently bad. But I always say, like, if someone reacts negatively to your own boundaries, then perhaps those like aren't your people, or the people like you need in your life.
mhm.
So
Ooh, wait, let me sip
mhm.
some. Again, it's okay not to be okay. Brought to you by Sip of Hope.
Love that.
Again, shout out to Mariah and Soulful Bookstore for her amazing cup.
Hmm. May Booty get fatter and the stomach get flatter. Amen. Amen.
In that order. So, okay. Parts of our conversation. So we've talked about what stress is. Again, shout out today as the National Stress Awareness Day. We started our conversation kind of talking about self-love and self-care, self-appreciation, and just really thinking about how does that help us diminish our stress. How does that act of caring for ourselves really help us diminish our stress?
Well, I think that a large part of the reasons why we stress, the negative sides of stress, is because we're trying to control situations that we have no control over. We
Mm-hmm.
are trying to overexert our own personal power. So
Mm-hmm.
by practicing, self-care and self-love and whatever practices go along with that, such as like one of my favorite practices is, going to yoga, journaling. I try to meditate, not perfect because my brain is like 50 billion tabs open at, it's really hard for me to stay present. But with those practices, it does help you appreciate you for who you are in the here and now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, like I said earlier, yes, you can think about the past, but like what exactly is there for us? It already happened. And then with the future, it's like, yes, it's important to strive to be the best version of yourself, but like, who are you now? What do you appreciate about yourself now? So it's very important to practice self-love and self-care to minimize or even de-stress completely, because it helps you stay present. It helps you be like, practicing gratitude in a sense. Like, oh, I may not be where I want to be, but I'm so grateful I'm not who I was in the past. And I'm grateful for this space because I'm supposed to be here right now. Like for however long the season is,
Mm-hmm.
however long, the journey is, I'm supposed to be here right now. So I may as well acceptance. A therapist that I had in college, she used to tell me all the time, like, the key to peace is acceptance. And it took me a very long time to like grasp that concept. But what she was talking about, worry about the things that you can control. Like you worry so much about things that have literally nothing to do with you. And honestly, you need to mind your business. It's like shout out to black women, shout out to black women therapists because they're black women therapists are gonna tell us the real of the real.
Pulling that
Okay.
band-aid all the way off. Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, so I'm like, okay, the key to peace is acceptance. The key to peace is acceptance. Okay, what am I trying to control? You can't control other people's perception about you.
Mm-hmm.
You can't control if the weather is going to rain on your parade. You can't control if you go left and everything else is going right. You can't control that, but you can
Mm-hmm.
control your reactions. You can control, just how you accept certain things. You can control those things.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to things that you can't control, you have to like graciously let it go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what? For me, self-love as a way to diminish stress, like I don't know about anybody else, but like during COVID, I gained a ton of weight, like a ton of weight. Like I am probably, this is the heaviest I've ever been in my whole life. And I can't really say that I struggle with weight off all my life because I haven't, really. I had another time where I gained a ton of weight. And then here I am now, 20 pounds larger than I was then. And it has been so hard for me to still love on myself. It has been so hard, but
I
I
can relate.
believe that it is because I have struggled so hard and still loving on myself that I am still carrying this weight because that stress is like eating up. You know what I'm saying? It's holding on to this fat. It is holding it and it's holding it hostage, right? And what I'm coming to realize, what I had to kind of think back to was like, let my focus be about being healthy. Let my focus be about feeling good. Let my focus be about having more energy and less about a pant size, less about a shirt size, right? Let that be the kind of north star for me in this journey, because if I focus on what I used to be, right? And the hot 200 pounds I was many moons ago, I'm never going to allow my body to relax the way that is necessary in order for me to show up in this present, in this season, right? And so for me, that act again, I think that's why I struggle even as I was preparing for today. Like some days I don't, I'll be like, girl, where's this? How did this? What is
Yep.
this? You know what I'm saying? I'm
Yep.
pointing out all the imperfections, but again, that's where that extension of grace comes in, and it is so important for us to have that extension of grace for ourselves and to ourselves and extend it to ourselves, because that is how we can one reduce stress and continue to grow into that season of loving ourselves. One other strategy that I will share for folks is I know people love their affirmations, and like I put my affirmations on some of everything. I want to say it was a celebrity that talked about using affirmations even in their like password. So every password is an affirmation, because how many times we log into a system, right? Boom, make that password an affirmation for yourself. For me personally, in my home, on my mirrors, I have some sort of like word, right, that speaks to me as a way to remind me to like love on myself. Even when I don't want to, that thing is there for me. And so I encourage you all to consider what are some ways, what are other things that you can do to continue to show yourself that grace and mercy and that love that you so certainly deserve.
I think it's a two-part. I'm sorry, were you going to?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I think it's a two-part answer today. I think so, to borrow from the great Bell Hooks.
Yes, Bell.
Yeah, she said something really profound in one of her books. I believe it was all about love. She said self-love cannot flourish in isolation. So I think it's a two-part answer, because one, I think it's very important to have people around you who remind you of who you are. Like people have when people are really for you, they have a really great ability of speaking into your life, seeing things in yourself that you don't even see, believing in you with like no qualifiers or anything like that. Like they just do, and they think you are the greatest thing to walk God's earth. So I think it's very important to keep those people around you, not necessarily like, just to fill your head or inflate your ego, but like no, to really pour into you and uplift you and encourage you, especially if you are a person who does that for other people all the time. So there's that. And then the second part of that is being able to like do that for yourself. So reminding yourself with the affirmations, with the sayings. I like to record my affirmations. I love to write down my affirmations and place them on my mirror as well. But something I found that I like is that I like to record my affirmations on like the voice memo app, or I'll make a video. And I won't always post this, to like social media or anything, but like sometimes some things are just for you. So I think like it's very important to understand, like when you are going through your self-love journey, like understand like it can be lonely, but it does not have to be. Like self-love does not flourish in isolation. In order to love yourself, you need to really be in community with people who are also committed to the same things or want to learn more about it. So
because you are definitely the company you keep, and sometimes everybody can't go where you're going. When you on your journey, when you on your growth, when you are trying to strive and be the best version of yourself, everybody can't go with you. But those that can, absolutely buckle up and let's go.
Let's go. Get in, loser. We're going to love ourselves.
Okay.
We're gonna go practice self-care.
Shout out to Audrey for going to work out with me today. I almost killed her today, but thank you for going for that workout with me today. I hope you are well. Later, I was on some B stuff today. I'm like, I'm about to get it. It's day 2. Let's go.
My abs have been hurting for 2 days straight. I'm like, I'm taking a 2-day break because I don't have time. Like I started back recently working out as well. So when you said, the weight gain and like not always feeling your best and like knowing that you fine, but it's just like, I could be finer than this, like I'm not, being, but also shifting that mindset. Like, I don't need to look like the girls on Instagram. I could just be myself.
Yeah.
And I could look and feel healthy. So I definitely identify with that, because it is a struggle to love yourself when you are not, when your body is going through changes. it's very hard. So
And I think
definitely
I just
identify
have
that.
I have to remind myself that, like, but my body is still showing up for me, right? In some way, some
Mm-hmm.
capacity, it's still waking me up. It's still getting me where I need to go, right? But I want to do this because I want my body to work better. I want to be kinder to my body, right? I want to
Mm-hmm.
be kinder to myself in that process. So, I'm definitely here for it. Okay, we're gonna pivot because I want to make sure we have time to talk about your amazing book.
Okay.
Um, Tell us about your book. Let's start right there. Just get into this book you wrote.
Well, before I tell you about this lovely book here, Write Yourself a Love Letter Challenge, which is a part journal, part manifesto, and becoming your besto, I have to tell you about the young woman that I was in 2016, and just how I struggled to love myself. And then I finally, just became aware of it, realized that my relationships were trash. I was treating myself trash. I was settling for jobs and things that I hated and were not fulfilling. But I had to do what I had to do with the tools
Mhm.
that I had. So in college, I started a social media challenge called Write Yourself a Love Letter Challenge, just to kind of like promote just positivity and self-love, but realize like so many people struggle to say nice things about
Mm.
themselves. And the challenge was like really simple at the time. You just had to post a picture of yourself and write a love letter from you to you, and that was just that. But so many people like and tag me in it, and so many people like struggled to do that. They couldn't find nice words about themselves and realize like they too, just like me, were suffering from like, just low self-esteem, toxic relationships, probably being a toxic person, just different things like that. So from there, Write Yourself a Love Letter Challenge actually transitioned into an in-person like workshop type of event in
Nice.
2000. Yes, in 2000. And well, the first one happened actually Valentine's Day 2017 for women who were survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault, and just different challenges that they were facing in the Carbondale, Illinois area. And then when I moved back home to Chicago later in 2017, in 2018, it transitioned into a full blown event because I wanted to create space for mostly women to just discuss self love in a unique way, but also a transformative way, and really like just get their perspective on, what's hard about the self love journey. What are they doing to practice it? What are they struggling with? What's kind of like holding them back? What are some of like the mental health things that they need to work on? We got into each other's business, and it was just a safe space. Like we laughed, we cried, we ate good, we drank better. So we it was a good time, and so I've been having them every year since 2018. So the fifth annual one just passed, and then in 2020, I always knew that I've always been a writer. I always knew that I would write books. I always wanted to be an author, but just did not have like a deadline. Like, oh, by this age, I'm going to be an author. So in 2020, when the world shut down, I had been working on my book since about 2 years earlier, but I like would pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down, not really stay consistent with like the writing for it. And in 2020, when the world shut down, it was like, well, you got laid off from everything. You don't have nothing but time now. And so I came out with Write Yourself a Love Letter Challenge, the book. So the book, and I'll put it up here again for people to see. But the book is a part journal, part manifesto. So what that means is when you open this book, you will see personal journal entries from myself as I was navigating through my ongoing self-love journey, because it hasn't stopped. Just because the book is only 11 chapters don't mean that the self-love journey has stopped at all. No, I'm still on it, still finding new ways to love myself and cherish myself and be present, with self. But then also the unique thing about this book is that it is also a self-guided journal as well. So there are journal prompt questions in here that ask you certain things like, how was the concept of self-love introduced to you in childhood, if it was at all? And so now I got you writing about your childhood. Like, you know what? Nobody ever told me to love myself. And then it asks you questions like, how has your self-esteem played a role in you practicing or not practicing self-love? Because
Mhm.
sometimes we've never been encouraged to practice self-love. So you can write in this book. There's 9 pages. It's 11 chapters, about 130 pages. And, we just go on a journey together. So as you're reading about myself and, what I've experienced and what I was going through, or the thought process behind each chapter, you are also following on your self-love journey as well, and like thinking about yourself and like what you want to do better and like what you've experienced. And so that's been out since April of 2020. So I've been a self-published author for 2 years. Thank you. And yeah, that's pretty much what Write Yourself a Love Letter Challenge is.
As I'm listening to you, the only thing that like is like vibrating in my head is like vulnerability, right? The idea of loving oneself, right, requires some sense of self-reflection and vulnerability. To invite to share your story as an anchor, as a opportunity to create safe space for other people to share their story requires some vulnerability. And even for your readers, right, to get into the book really requires some vulnerability on your part. And in 2020, my word of the I have a word of the year, y'all. But my word of the this year was vulnerability. And my question to you is, how has being vulnerable on this journey impacted the journey for you? Yeah, I think that's the question. Like, how has being vulnerable on this journey impacted this journey for you?
That is a really great question. And something I always come back to is that being public about this journey, being vulnerable about this journey, helped me realize like I am not alone.
That part.
In this journey, like Bell Hooks said, self-love cannot flourish, in isolation. So learning that I am not the only one who struggles with self-esteem. I am not the only one who has struggled with toxic relationships. I'm not the only one who has struggled with their mental health. I'm not the only one who has been through XYZ, and like creating a space where people feel comfortable enough to share things as well, and like we're all healing together. I would say that is like the greatest impact of the journey, because so often when we're going through things, we feel like we are the only person in the world going through it, and no, everybody else is like past us, and it's like, why are we going through this? Like, is something wrong with us? Like, it's so many things. But going public and not hiding it, I've always been a person who says the things that people are thinking, but maybe too afraid to say. And it's just like, no, not Kia. She go. If anybody gonna say something, it's gonna be me. And to be honest, I've actually kind of like toned it down over the past year. So people are a little bit spared, like I've been sparing, people, but I've always been a person who says things that people are speaking, always been very kind of like straight to the point, no chaser, and letting people know like it's okay not to be okay, as your cup says. Like, it's literally okay not to be okay. Like, you're not an outcast or a weirdo just because you are experiencing these things. Like, self-love is not our default. Like, we don't come out the womb knowing how to love ourselves. And then if you are a woman, you're especially socialized because of, just patriarchy and misogyny and just, this world that we live in. You're socialized to think certain things about yourself, about the community around you. You're expected to put other people before you. So learning how being vulnerable, there is so much I've learned over the last few years. Like, there is so much strength in being vulnerable. It doesn't make you inadequate. It doesn't make you anything but a strong person who is real enough to say like, yo, I struggle with this.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I'm learning in this like land of vulnerability, which I fight every day. Like, I literally be fighting that. I'm like, I don't want to be this vulnerable. This is too much. But what I'm learning in this process though, to your point, is like, I'm not in this alone. I'm learning my strength in it. I had another point. Dang it, I never slipped my mind. I know I should have wrote it down. But what I'm learning in this process of being vulnerable is that it's not always about what I am learning. It's also about the things that I am unlearning.
Yes.
I am unlearning a lot of unhealthy, behaviors. So like I've learned about myself, like I avoid conflict. Right. As much as I'm like spicy and with it, I'm with it. I'm with the get down with the get down, right? But for in spaces where I actually have some care, or I feel like I have some little stake in it, right? I tend to avoid conflict. But in avoiding conflict, I create stress for myself because I'm not having the appropriate conversations that I need to have. I had to have what I now call a necessary conversation, right? I used to think that setting my boundaries was like this, like, oh, I'm gonna snap on somebody, I'm gonna tell them about themselves. No, I'm not doing none of that. I'm having a necessary conversation with you because it's necessary for this relationship that we have this conversation. It's necessary for you to know how to treat me, so we gonna have this conversation. And I am pivoting my conversation with people to, oh no, this is just a necessary conversation. So that's one thing I'm working on and being vulnerable. The other thing that I'm working on when it comes to vulnerability is one, telling people what I need, but also asking people what they need from me. I'm a fixer by nature. So I am always trying to figure out how to fix people's stuff. Well, fixing people's stuff create bags for me. I'm taking on your stuff and you ain't asking me to take on your stuff. You ain't like, sis, you ain't never got to pick up this bag. Leave that bag right there. I just need to open it and fiddle around in it. And then I'm going to close it back up and put it on my bag. But I'm like, oh no, if you're bringing this to me, I have to fix it. So now I engage in conversation with people like, so what do you need from this conversation? Do you just need this? Do you want to just vent? Do you want me to give you some feedback? Like, what is it that you need from this conversation? And I pivot my conversation with folks like, hey, I just need to get this out. Right. And the last thing that I really strive for in this season of vulnerability is really reminding or giving myself permission to show up as my full and authentic self, because I know that when I show up full and authentic, it gives other people permission to do the same. And so, like, I oftentimes push myself like, well, if not me, then who? Right? If I can't show this, and I'm talking about in every part of my life, in presentations that I give, I am always, showing or trying to be a bit vulnerable with who I am as a person. And just, again, day to day and how I'm living my life. Like, yeah, I'm having a rough day. And like, yeah, I'm a whole licensed clinical social worker, but guess what? I don't always have the best.
I don't always got it in me.
I can teach you it, but today I ain't got it today. Today, I don't have it. And so really trying to live in that authenticity because, again, I think it's just necessary.
Yes. I just started saying recently, speaking to the authenticity piece, I am me so you can be you. I am me so you can be you. If I am my authentic self, that means that it is super 100% okay for you to be you and your authentic self, whatever that looks like. I am me so you can be you. And we don't have to be a lie. I'm gonna put that on the shirt. I'll put it on the shirt because it's just so important. Like, I just love like making people. I meet a lot of people who like wear masks and have certain identities and feel like they have to live up to a certain image. And I think in a sense, if I'm really being real, like that's all of us. In a sense, like we feel like we have to be in this like cookie cutter box and don't be too loud, don't be too ratchet, don't curse too much, don't do this. You probably shouldn't drink too much because but it's like everybody wants to appear to be some type of way. And I think with social media, like people will like look at your page and be like, oh, well, I'm looking at her social media and this person is this type of way. Whole time they don't know like this person is multifaceted, so it really like depends on the day that you get them, and depends on like what they want to show you. But I am me, so you can be you. It's so okay to be authentic. It's so okay to be yourself. Like be yourself, whoever that is, because you can create who you want to be as well. So whoever that is, be that person and stand in it.
I love it. Oh, God. I'm looking at our time. I know we only have like 10 more minutes, and I'm like, oh, I want to go left, but I'm trying to stay right, but I want to go left.
Go follow your heart. That's what I say. Are you a Virgo?
I'm a Taurus.
Ah, Okay.
I'm a Taurus. I'm a Taurus. A stubborn old thing, but I'm definitely a
Mhm.
Taurus. In my mind, I was thinking about like perfection when you talked about like us and wearing masks and like the strive for perfection, and how so often we strive for perfection. And I think it was Brene Brown. I was watching some of her stuff. Shout out to Brene Brown. I was watching some of her stuff, some of her videos, and she talks about our strive for perfection as a trauma response. And so I'm gonna just drop that and I'm gonna leave that there. Folks can research that on their own. But
Marinate.
but
Marinate
right,
on
but
that.
like man, like does our strive for perfection, how does that impact our capacity to love ourselves? Am I conditioned to see my flaws? And so am I conditioned to think that I'm supposed to be perfect, right? Am I striving for perfection? And because I'm striving for perfection, I am feeling less than. I am feeling like I'm falling short because I am striving for perfection. And so I encourage you all to sit with that and question that and meditate on that. Like, am I striving for perfection? And how does that strive for perfection impact my capacity to love myself?
That's a really good question. And like I just want to speak on it for like maybe like 2 minutes.
Go for it.
I feel like our strive for perfection impacts our ability to love ourselves because we're not giving ourselves a chance. We think that, oh, well, because of what I see her or him doing, if my self-love journey does not look like that, then and am I doing this right? And I have a chapter in my book about that. It's literally called Am I Doing This Right? Like what what am I doing to love myself fully and authentically, and why I don't look like the next person. So like really, so the journal prompt questions all look like that. All say that, like, what are you doing to like love yourself authentically or something like that. But in reality, your self-love journey does not have to look like anyone else's. We all have a unique set of challenges and a unique set of privileges and a unique set of things that propel us forward and hold us back. Your self-love journey does not have to look like from somebody that you might see on the internet or people in real life that you might know. Your self-love journey is yours and yours alone.
Now, before we get out of here, I'm it's my fault, y'all. I'm sorry I waited to these last 8 minutes to pivot us to this conversation, but I just want to pick your brain a little bit about self-love and even stress, but more so self-love and Black men. And again, I'm only speaking specifically to Black men because that's what I know. Okay.
Yep, that's all I know. I couldn't
Everybody
tell you.
else too,
I
but
couldn't tell you nothing about nobody else besides a Black
this is
man.
what I know. Okay. And my mind is like percolating on like self-love for Black men and like what does that mean? What does that look like? Where is it? Right? Like where are we creating? And not we as we right? But like where is a space? Where do Black men learn how to love themselves? Right? Where is a space that promotes and support Black men loving themselves? Where is the space where Black men are supported in that self-love journey, right? Like what does that, and I don't know why this is just like it's on my mind, it's on my heart. But and I don't expect either one of us to have the answer today as we are not Black men, but I encourage us to think about that. Like, what are we teaching our young boys, right? When it comes to loving themselves, what are we introducing to our spouses, our brothers, our uncles, our cousins, right? When it comes to creating space for them to know that you too should love yourself, right? And what does your self-love look like? And that we check ourselves if their self-love boundary, right, shows up for us, because it will. Okay. Like my self-love don't look like, sis, you gotta chill on it, right? But like how do we process that in our own minds that like I gotta make space for this person to love themselves in this way. So
I think Black men kind of like anybody else, they learn from like example. Sometimes I think if you are a heterosexual Black man, you learn a lot from like your spouse, or like your mother figures. But I would love to see more. I do know like one Black male therapist who really promotes, just mental health, undoing patriarchy and misogyny. self-love, self-care, really unlearning all the things that society says that they have to be, really encouraging men to be emotionally intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
Men come to my events. They do come to my events, and they share. They do the books, and it's just like, wow, it's so, because if this is, it was designed with like women in mind, but like men utilize it as well, because self love is for everybody. It's not just for
Mm-hmm.
women, and
Mm-hmm.
that's also something like self love, especially for Black people. Self love is for everybody. We all need to love ourselves a little bit better, and we all need to, be taking care of our mental health, and we all need to be learning how to de-stress ourselves. But I feel like those spaces, it's really important. Like, we can be, Black women can be inclusive, and invite Black men in. But sometimes those spaces get a little tainted because we start arguing with each other. Well, you not doing, and you not doing. Black men, I really encourage y'all to start y'all own spaces.
Come
Stay
on
consistent.
now.
Stay consistent with it. Consistent. Stay disciplined with it, because it's needed. And I feel like sometimes men only listen to other men in certain aspects. But nothing is stopping you from creating your own space. You just have to do it. I know here in Chicago, I've seen a couple things where it's Black men only, and like they have like roundtable discussions, and different things like that. So if it's that, continue that, promote it out. Don't be afraid that if it might be only 5 of y'all, like, you don't need no big crowd.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. So I think that's kind of like, it's not an answer, but those are like my thoughts on this situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I thank you so much for your thought. I know that was not, that was a complete mod. Just, my mind is
I
always
love it.
too.
I
So,
love the. I love the. I love it. Like I said, I am aligned with wherever you want to go. I'm very flexible. I'm a Pisces, so I just be going with the flow.
got it.
I be
Got it.
going.
I tend to have a love for Pisces, so that makes sense.
I love my Tauruses too.
So thank you so much, Kia, for engaging in this conversation with me on National Stress Awareness Day.
And I want to shout you out, because I did not know, like, when you all reached out to me, I did not know that like National Stress Awareness Day was a thing. So thank you I love people who teach me something new. So thank you for teaching me something new, making me aware. I should have told everybody at my job today, like, hey, it's National Stress Awareness Day. What you doing to de-stress? But I'll tell them tomorrow. But thank you. Thank you so much for just inviting me and teaching me something new.
Absolutely. I again just really appreciate your presence, your participation in this conversation. I'm encouraging everybody who is listening to us, who is tuned in, or who may share this video with someone else. One, share with somebody else. Two, I encourage you all to think about that. Write yourself a love letter. What would that love letter say? What would it be about? I encourage you all to take this conversation and not have this conversation as something that you just listened to today, but really unpack this conversation for yourselves. I encourage you all to check us out. Of Kia, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to drop your social media platforms, but you can find us at Invested Consultant Firm on Instagram, and I believe we're on Twitter too. Clearly social media is not my thing, but you can definitely follow us at Invested Consultant Firm on Instagram. And then Kia, please share your social media.
So y'all can find me on Instagram at Kia Smith Writes. So Kia Smith in the title, and then Writes is WRITES. I'm on Twitter at Kia Smith Writes with an underscore. And then if you're interested in purchasing my book, you can get it from 2 places. You can get it from Soulful, which is a Black woman-owned bookstore in Pilsen, 1508 West 18th Street. It's there. I'll be restocking this week or next week. That's when it'll get here. So, and then they're always available on my website, which is just KiaSmithWrites.com. And if you use discount code AuthorBay, so AUTHORBAE, you get free shipping.
Yes,
So
free shipping.
yes. So, and then November 17th, if you all are in the Chicago area, for my ladies, I am having a small, intimate sister circle version of my annual event called Write Yourself a Love Letter Challenge. I'll be asking about 5 to 10 questions from this book here. It's workshop style. So we'll be writing, we'll be discussing, we'll be eating good, and we'll be drinking even better. And those tickets are also available on my Instagram, the link in my bio. $20, $22, light bites and drinks included. And I would love to see my ladies out who want to journey with me for their self-love journey.
Thank you again, Kia. On behalf of Investor Consulting Firm, I really appreciate you being here. To everybody that logged on and made some comments in the chat, thank you for showing up. Thank you for allowing yourself permission to engage in this conversation with us. I appreciate you. We both love you deeply. Wanted to respect everybody's time. So I hope you all have a wonderful night and a better tomorrow.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good one. Bye. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.